And at the end of fear, oblivion. That's what the Scarecrow would say. This is the Warpforge with another Arkham Files. In this episode, today we will be looking at the Master of Fear himself, the Scarecrow. As you can see by the model, we are going through the Arkham Asylum variation of this model. No doubt, Knight's models will be making multiple versions of Scarecrow, especially a Master variant. Most likely the Arkham Knight variant in the future, but at the moment there's only the Arkham Asylum variant, who is a free agent to anyone, except for a few bands which I'll go into later. So, obviously we have the Scarecrow. He is a free agent to everyone apart from Batman, Green Arrow and Law, because he hates all those, as he is an Arkham Rogue. Technically Arkham Rogues don't really mix with the heroes. So, what weapons does he have? Well, already we're going to get interesting with Crane here. He has the drug spray, which deals no damage. It's one rate of fire, and it's got 2 ammo, so you can fire it twice. And you can only fire it once per the rate of fire. It has the expansive, which is the spray template, which I'll go into in a bit. The poison with Envenerating 2. This is not a crit effect. Poison, so if you damage, then they're losing 2 counters, as that is what Envenerating 2 does. So whilst it does absolutely nothing in the context of damage, it does cripple a lot. Then you've got Syringe Claw, which does one blood damage. It's a melee weapon, so it doesn't have a rate of fire ammo. It is handy with crit poison pinned down, and pinned down basically means they cannot spend movement counters, and the attack value is reduced by 1, recoiling in fear, as they would say by the good doctor. Now, if we'll pause this. Apologies for that, the battery on the lamp was dying, so I had to put it on charge. So, basically, we've just went through what pinned down was, and that's extremely handy, which I'll go into later. His personal traits are Psychologist. Psychologist is basically that he automatically solves riddle markers without rolling the dice. In addition, so basically you go up, manipulate, and you claim either 1 victory point or 3 victory points. I'm not too sure, I'd have to go into the FAQ to think that out, but needless to say, you get victory points, which is always a good thing. Especially with Riddler objectives, you usually take a pair, and that counts as 1 objective. So technically you have between 2 to 6 victory points to claim with Scarecrow, and that's very good. In addition, he gets a sub-trait called Psychoanalysis, which is for a special counter. Any model, friend or foe, within 20 centimeters of this guy ignores their mental disorder traits. So stuff like aggressive schizophrenia and obsessive, they ignore that, as Scarecrow analyses their behaviour because he's a psychologist and all that. The good doctor is in, as they say. He is persuasive, which basically means at the end of his activation, he can spend a movement and a special counter, an attack or action counter, I think. And basically any model within its line of sight that has to be selected, so you can't go to all of them. You must select one, and once you've paid the cost, that model must activate next. So this is always used on your enemy's models. In addition to a little note, these have to be models that haven't activated in your opponent's gang, but they always have to be your opponent's gang as well. So basically spend a movement special and tell your opponent he's activating. Doesn't matter what your opponent says, he's activating, as long as you've paid the cost. He is Undercover, which grants an additional 20 centimeters of extra deployment after all other models have deployed. And that's great, especially when you know about the role of Crane. And obviously he hates Batman, Green Arrow and Law because he's an Arkham Rogue. They don't tend to mix well with the heroes. He doesn't have any special traits, so we'll go on to his stats and then his rep and funding. So he's got 6 willpower, which is average for a free agent. You can get stuff done, but it doesn't give them unlimited resources, so you have to so you still have to think ahead. practically. Movement 2, which is basic standard. His strength is 4+, so that's quite average. His attack's 4, which is very good, because that's on par with leaders. His defense is 3, which is roughly average for basically a lot of non-meta beings. His endurance is 6, which is on par with the general gist of free agents. And his special's 3, which is basic. Yes, obviously this is what it is. Now, Johnathan Crane's role in your gang. He's a bit like, and I'm going to make an obvious reference to Joker's gang here, because this is the best way I can explain it. He's like the Harley Quinn of your gang. Harley Quinn isn't necessarily, I'm going to go in your face and I'm going to beat stick. She can pull that off, unlike Scarecrow here. However, what she tends to do a lot better is to cripple your opponent's gang members by using little things like distract and discourage and stuff like that. Crane follows along the same lines with the use of his persuasive, his expansive template, and all his poison stuff that he does. He's there to cripple your opponents and take Riddler objectives, basically. So what is his strengths? Well, I'll pause this and I'll show you what one of his strengths is. Okay, so this is his basic. This is the spray template. This is what Johnathan Crane uses. What's what Scarecrow uses for his drug spray. This is his fear gas going across. This is what I'm saying by here's an example. In this example here, we have ammo crate, which is in base contact with the assault rifleman, and he's basically came across and just went spray. What does this mean? Well, when you hit with a spray template, you usually are automatically hit, so you just roll for damage. And this is great wherever it goes, because you've already got collateral damage die, and then you've got 1 dice for each guy, partially or wholly within the template. So as we see, there's 3 guys wholly within the template, which is the Assault Rifleman, the Contra Augustique, and the Knife Clown guy. We have 2 guys, which is Borgon, as we see here, and Mr. Hammer here, who is also partially within, and they also get automatically hit as well. So you roll for damage, and when you roll for damage, you roll a 4-up. If you roll this 4-up, each guy who is successfully damaged loses 2 counters. So it doesn't matter who they are, if they've activated or not, they lose 2 counters. If they haven't got 2 counters, say they've got 1 counter left, then they've lost that. If they don't have any counters, obviously they haven't lost anything, because they've got nothing. But that is insanely crippling. If that is on a 3x3 board, and that is huge for a 3x3 board. So it does a lot. And I've noticed a lot within my games currently is people like to mob over their objectives to make sure that they're all safe and stuff. You chuck someone like Scarecrow and just go, this expansive template. You are crippling, how many guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys? That's a lot in a gang, considering that gangs that tend to be, if you're going henchman heavy, 9 to 10 guys. So already you've got half of them, or a little bit more, crippled. If you don't manage to wound them, you've automatically hit them, in which case you follow the rule for just a scratch, and you've already done 1 stun counter. So it doesn't matter what happens here, they suffer some sort of damage, whether it's being crippled by the drug spray or suffering the just a scratch stun marker. Either way. So either way, if they've been hit by a template, they're not getting out of it safely. Unless they have dodge. Dodge might be able to dodge the template. But that's one of his biggest strengths. His second strength is obviously the syringe claw, which we'll go into. Okay, so his syringe claw, 1 blood damage, which is great for finishing off henchmen. Don't expect Crane to do a lot of damage, because you've got to roll to hit, and you've got to roll to impact, and you've got to roll to damage. That would take quite a while if you're going to just expect Johnathan Crane here, the Scarecrow, to just solo characters. No, he doesn't work like that. You put him in front of the likes of a henchman and he's going to still struggle a little bit. But if you put him in front of a henchman that's on like one or two endurance left, he's going to go down on them and he's going to kill them if they've got 2 or 3 blood damage already. Don't expect him to go up to free agents and leaders alike and sidekicks and just expect him to solo, because he's not that type of character. He will get trounced and he will get kicked one up the backside, I can guarantee you that. So his Syringe Claw has crit poison pinned down. Obviously, like I say, you don't expect him to solo characters, but expect, again, to damage those characters so that he can go in and further cripple them. With pinned down, they lose an attack value. If you roll the 6 on the crit die, they lose an attack value and can't spend any movement characters that turn. That's really, really good if you've got if you're attacking a guy on low endurance, a guy who hasn't got much endurance left. He's a predator. Not a predator in the sense of Deathstroke or Batman. He's a predator who lurks in the alleyways and then pounces and then finishes off a guy who's been mortally wounded by, I don't know, an axe wound. So that's basically that. Before I forget, his rep is 57 and his funding's $200. So on the costly side of things, he is a little bit expensive at times here and there. But if you play him right, he is well worth the funding. Rep-wise, that's quite healthy. That is quite nice for a rep. That is, it's not too expensive, but it's not too cheap. What is Scarecrow's biggest weakness? As I've mentioned before, as you kind of took the hint, he can't take in damage very well. Endurance 6 is okay, but his Defense 3 is what really hurts him. Defense 3 basically means that he will be getting hit. When he gets hit, he will be taking damage. It doesn't matter what you say, he will be taking damage, and he will be losing willpower points for that, which means less counters to spend to cripple others. Don't have him in the middle of the board expecting him to survive. Have him as a flank unit going around the place. Position, if you're getting rid of all objectives, which I would highly suggest with Scarecrow, have them on the flanks. Have a few henchmen guarding Scarecrow so I can get to those flanks, because if you put objectives on the flanks, chances are your opponent's gonna definitely try and get to those objectives to guard them so that you don't get at least 2 to 6 victory points. So you're going to have to keep Crane guarded. It might even be with a sidekick. For example, I might have him with Joker's crew and I'll stick in, I don't know, let's just say Mr. Hammer here. So already you've got a very tough bodyguard for Crane so that he can take in damage, and then Crane can just hop over to the Riddler trophies and then just claim those victory points for you. Like I say, I'm only saying these as examples, but you kind of get the picture. If you're doing your own gang, say Black Mask, a Natalie might be good for a good endurance bodyguard around Crane. If you're going for, I don't know, Bane's gang, just Mohawk alone. Very good bodyguard alongside Crane, because he'll go in and he'll start hacking up people while Crane hops over and gets those objectives. But aside from that, as Crane's going along to those objectives, you will want to be using the spray template to cripple the opponent. So if you're, for say, going towards those Riddler objectives, and as I said from the previous mentions, there's a few guards. Activate Crane, cripple the guards with a drug spray, then send in another henchman in to finish them off, because the crippled, they're not going to do as much as your opponent wants them to do, so he's going to go, for example, we'll say Mohawk again from Bane's gang, and he's going to go ice picks galore and stab a guy in the eyes and gouge his eyes out. So that's basically how Scarecrows run. So I hope you enjoyed this video. That is the Master of Fear, the Scarecrow. If you want to see more Arkham Files, then please subscribe to the channel. I will be making more and more on various gang leaders, sidekicks, and free agents. Currently I'm doing as many free agents as I've got right now. This will run out, but hopefully I'll get a few more guys in and paint them, because that's the aim of the Tacticas, to have painted minis to show these amazing Tacticas. So hope you enjoyed. If you want to talk about anything or how you run Johnathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, then please comment below. I'd love to hear as many thoughts of how you would run Scarecrow around. If you like the videos, then please give it a like. If you want to share this video so that other people who might have Scarecrow might want a bit of advice on how to run him, then please, by all means, please share the video around to help other people understand how Scarecrow works. This is the Warp Forge, signing out, and remember, keep on forging.